Welcome to HouseLux Estate. Today we're doing a deep dive into Dante Fortson's The 48 Laws of Black Empowerment.
Yeah, it's quite a compelling book. We're going to try and unpack its core arguments, the advice he gives.
Right. It's all about achieving Black unity, Black empowerment through changes at, well, pretty much every level, isn't it?
Exactly. Individual, family, business, community, even how you approach activism. He covers a lot of ground.
And he tackles those historical divisions head on. He seems to think, that positive change can happen pretty quickly if people engage with these ideas.
Definitely. And you can see the influences, right? He draws on figures like Marcus Garvey, movements like the Black Panthers, even that strategic thinking from the 50th Law.
Okay, so let's maybe start with the individual. This idea that change begins with you personally. How does he flesh that out?
Well, it's that whole lead by example idea, but also he brings up those sayings about who you associate with,
Like attracts like, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Basically saying your personal conduct, your energy, it really does have a ripple effect on the people closest to you. It's about making sure your influence is, positive.
And it's not just external actions. That first law, all praises to the Most High.
Yeah.
That felt like a call for unity beyond specific religions.
It really is. He's very aware of the diversity, Christianity, Islam, Black Hebrew Israelites, maybe ancestral traditions. So instead of getting stuck on specific names for God, he uses the Most High as like a unifying term everyone can potentially connect with.
Which is pretty smart, considering the history. He talks about how ancestral faiths were suppressed during slavery and European views were imposed.
Exactly. It's like reclaiming a spiritual connection on their own terms, finding strength in that shared acknowledgement, regardless of the specific path.
Okay. Then there's know your identity. A huge emphasis on researching Black history. Why is that so central for him?
Well, he argues identity was deliberately attacked. Names were stripped, languages forbidden, records destroyed.
Right.
So researching history becomes an act of reclaiming that stolen narrative. He even points to things like old maps, that 1747 Bowen map of Africa, a French one from 1766.
As actual starting points.
Yeah, as tangible ways to try and reconnect with ancestral roots and understand the pre-colonial context.
So understanding history isn't just academic, it's fundamental to knowing who you are now.
Absolutely. And that flows right into the next point. Be yourself. He talks about resisting those imposed, often European standards of beauty and acceptance.
Yeah, he mentioned the irony, doesn't he? How mainstream culture might mimic Black culture, while Black people sometimes feel pressure to conform the other way.
His message is basically embrace your authentic self, especially with ongoing issues like racial profiling or even hair discrimination still happening today.
It makes being authentically yourself a kind of resistance, in a way.
Powerful statement, yeah.
And embrace education. But he makes a distinction, right, between just formal schooling and what he calls actual history.
He does. He suggests that a lot of mainstream history, particularly European history, might be, let's say, revised or incomplete.
Downplaying certain aspects.
Right. Or not telling the full story about pre-colonial societies or the realities of slavery. So for him, real education means seeking out that unvarnished truth.
And he connects it back to slavery, too, how learning to read was forbidden for enslaved people.
Precisely. It highlights just how powerful knowledge was seen to be. So pursuing it now is crucial for empowerment.
Okay, building on that foundation, he gets very practical with financial literacy. Be financially conscious.
Yeah, this section is key. Understanding income, expenses, where the money actually goes. He suggests practical things like budgeting.
And he stresses supporting Black-owned businesses, doesn't he? To keep money circulating within the community.
Definitely. To build that internal economic strength and counter things like, gentrification, where money often flows out.
And it goes further than just consciousness.
Oh yeah. Being credit conscious, understanding credit, building it. Then entrepreneurship, seeing business ownership as a path to independence.
Creating jobs within the community.
Exactly. And maybe most importantly, building generational wealth, thinking long-term, passing down assets, knowledge.
He offers concrete ideas too, like looking into credit repair or different online business models. It's very action-oriented.
Very much so. Entrepreneurship seems vital to his vision of self-determination.
Okay, so moving from the individual and family, he has a whole section on community. What's the focus there?
It starts with being socially and politically aware. Be socially conscious asks us to look critically at what's happening in our communities.
He gives those examples, right, about the types of businesses sometimes concentrated in Black neighborhoods, liquor stores, certain clinics.
He wants people to question why those patterns exist. to understand the underlying forces.
And then be politically conscious. This was interesting, questioning automatic party loyalty.
Yeah, he advocates for a really nonpartisan approach, evaluating policies based purely on what best serves the Black community's interests.
Not just emotional ties or historical trends.
Right. He points out how party stances have shifted historically on major issues, urging a more strategic political engagement.
That idea of potentially withholding votes until demands are met really stood out.
It did, contrasting it with how other groups sometimes leverage their votes more conditionally.
The community section also talks about actively giving back, right?
Definitely. Give back to our community, shop Black whenever possible, pull our people up. It's all about internal support, mentorship, creating our own systems.
Building that collective strength. I liked his practical ideas, like community-run sports leagues. Simple, but effective.
And he addresses internal stuff too, like language. Embrace positive language.
Yeah, questioning the use of derogatory terms within the community that we wouldn't accept from outsiders.
Taking control of the narrative, how we speak about ourselves. And similarly, celebrate Black excellence, not just famous people, but everyday achievements.
Fostering that sense of pride and possibility.
Then there's the activism section. His take on master solo activism is a bit different.
It is this idea that individual actions, embodying pro-Black values daily, can be a powerful form of activism, maybe even more sustainable than just big public movements.
Yeah, he uses that Sun Tzu analogy, being adaptable, not showing your whole hand, suggesting consistent individual effort has a major long-term impact.
And it ties into controlling the narrative too, like building our own cultural institutions, record labels, publishers.
Exactly, keeping control and the economic benefits of Black culture within the community, rather than seeing it appropriated.
He also stresses knowing who your real allies and adversaries are based on actions and history, not just words or feelings.
And that final law, stop looking to white leadership, really sums up the call for self-determination and putting Black individuals in charge of Black institutions.
Looking at the book overall, the style is very direct, isn't it? These laws are like commands almost.
Very action-oriented. And he weaves in quotes from historical figures, Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou, MLK, Malcolm X.
Which anchors his ideas in that longer tradition of Black thought.
Right. It connects the practical advice to the historical context and the ongoing cultural conversation.
It feels like his main goal was to offer a really practical, community-focused guide. Something beyond just politics.
Yeah, a roadmap emphasizing both what you can do yourself and how that contributes to the collective, building strength from the inside out.
What really strikes me is how comprehensive it is. It touches personal, family, economic, social, political. It sees it all as connected.
Absolutely. It's not saying empowerment is just about economics or just about politics. It's holistic. And the advice, as you said, is very direct.
It is very focused on self-reliance and internal community building as the core strategy.
So thinking about someone listening to this wanting to understand the book, maybe some questions to reflect on.
Good idea. Like, which of these ideas, these laws, really hits home for you? Why?
And how could you actually apply some of this in your own life, your family, maybe your neighborhood?
Yeah, and what are the real-world barriers? What makes implementing this kind of unity and empowerment difficult? And how could those challenges be tackled?
And maybe that final thought, how does really knowing the history shape how we approach empowerment today?
Those are definitely important questions Fortson's work pushes you to ask. It's not just a list of rules, it's meant to provoke thought and, ideally, action.
Exactly. It's a framework to engage with critically, not just follow blindly.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the 48 Laws of Black Empowerment. We hope it gave you a good overview and some things to consider.
Absolutely. And if you found this useful and want more explorations like this, please do subscribe to HouseLux Estate. We'll be back with more.